Hey, what's up guys, WRG, we're in a video, and today we have a pretty cool unboxing for you, what I hope to be the best tactical flashlight on the market today. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. And in case you didn't read the thumbnail or the title, this is the Surefire Everyday Carry Light EDCL2-T. And I got this from Optics Planet. I've been waiting quite a while on this light, so very happy to see it arrive. I did order some extra batteries. I got here a 12-pack, and I figured it would be a good idea just because the batteries are not rechargeable, and I'd like to have something extra just in case. Now for the actual light, let's check it out. So this retails for, I believe, $179 if I'm not mistaken, subject to change of course, but I picked it up for about $150 on Optics Planet. Their price was actually fluctuating for a while, and I picked it up on the lower end, and I was also able to put in a discount code, so that was pretty cool. But let's see what I got here. So as you can see here, the biggest selling point of this light is obviously the 1200 lumens and the fact that it's a Surefire. It's a great American brand. They stand by their products, and they've always put out quality. This is US made. It's hard anodized mil-spec aluminum, and it does come with batteries, or so it says. We'll find out. So as you guys can see here, it's a TIR lens, which means that it focuses the light a little more than other lights, such as the Tactician, which is probably one of its competitors, where it just floods the room. This one is a little more of a beam, a little more concentrated, and it will give you a little more candela to whoever you're pointing it at. And obviously we can see here the tail cap is a gas pedal type of thing, where you just push it lightly for 5 lumens and all the way for 12 lumens. All right, so let's open it up and give it the full review it deserves. Might need to sharpen that blade soon. First impression, feels pretty good in the hand. I do like this grip here. Now the bezel is obviously not too sharp, which is actually pretty cool. I don't want it to be like too obviously sharp. You could use it obviously for a self-defense encounter if you needed to, but it doesn't look overly tactical where it's going to tear up your pants or anything like that. Now one of the weak points I was reading about online is this clip, but the good news is I heard that you could replace it with the Tactician's clip, which is supposed to be really good quality, so that might be a good option. Some quick stats on the light. At 1200 lumens it'll run for 1 hour, and then on the low setting, which is 5 lumens, it'll run for 60 hours. It does have a length of 5.84 inches and a diameter and the bezel of 1.125. That was a little bit more of my concern, is the bezel diameter, but I'm going to test it out and see. It actually doesn't look too bad, and obviously you could carry bezel up. I just don't know how sturdy the clip will be and how well it'll hold up, but we'll check it out and see. The weight itself is 4.1 ounces, and it does use 2 CR1238 batteries. You know, one thing I found disappointing is that on their website, they don't have any type of waterproof or IPX rating on it. So I don't really know what the waterproof rating on this is. I'm assuming it's probably just maybe rain, but I wouldn't expect too much out of this in terms of the waterproof rating. And this is an upgrade from the EB2 Surefire flashlight, if you're familiar with that one. I just want to give you a close-up of the bezel so you guys could check that out, see how the lens looks. And it feels pretty comfortable, fairly lightweight, very intuitive, easy to use. So looking forward to testing this out. All right, so the moment of truth, let's check it out and see how it looks. So I'm going to do a soft press, and there's our 5 lumens, and then a hard press, 1200 lumens. Pretty bright, guys. Definitely going to do some more testing so you guys can check it out, but so far it looks pretty good. And of course you could twist on for permanent, so now it's permanently on at 5 lumens, and we could twist a little further. It's a good twist, and then 1200 lumens. I'll show you guys how much of that twist it really is. 12, that's 5 lumens. And now we're back on normal standby, ready to go. Very cool, very intuitive. Impressed so far, but let's do some further testing and check it out. Okay, in this soon to be dark hallway, we're going to be testing out the EDCL2-T by Surefire, and I'm going to be comparing it to the Olight S1 mini Baton, which is my other everyday carry. For obvious reasons, you can see why I might want to carry one versus the other. This one's obviously a lot smaller and lighter than this one, but on days that I want something a little tougher and bigger, I'll go with the Surefire. So another thing to consider is that this one has more options and this one has less, and that's intended on purpose for its tactical uses. But this one has a low setting of 0.5 lumens, 15 lumens, 60 lumens, 300, and then 600. So I'm going to be testing all those out and comparing them to this 5 lumen, 1200 lumen. So let's test it out and see how they fare. Okay, so this is the Moonlight setting by Olight, and this should be 0.5 lumens. And let's compare it to the 5 lumens by the Surefire. Obviously much brighter, but you're going to have also a different runtime. This one will last for 60 hours, whereas the Olight will last for 15 days. Okay, now this is the low setting for the Olight, and this should be 15 lumens. So let's see how that compares to the 5 lumens on the Surefire. So you can see on the bottom is the Surefire, and on the top is the Olight. So you could definitely see a difference in the color of the lights. The Surefire does look a little bit more warm, and the Olight definitely looks a little bit more cool. Also, you can see the hotspot is a lot smaller for the Surefire, and for the Olight, obviously it's bigger. It's more of a flooding type of light. You can see a difference in the reflector. Now this is medium, and this should be 60 lumens versus 5 lumens on the Surefire. So let's compare those. So you can see quite a difference. Obviously you can see the changes in color, and the Olight is obviously brighter because it should be at this many lumens. Now this is the max setting. This is 600 lumens, and let's compare it to the Surefire's 1200 lumens. So you have there 600 lumens and then 1200 lumens. You can clearly see a much hotter spot in the center as opposed to a more floody light from the Olight. And that's just the Surefire by itself at 1200 lumens and 5 lumens. Honestly, the 5 lumens seems to be a little brighter than maybe 5 lumens. I would guess it to be maybe 10, even 15. And then for umbrella lighting, if you wanted to just have like 5 lumens up, it definitely lights up the room pretty well. And then 1200 lumens, you basically turn the lights on in the room. And just to let you guys know, in that short bit of testing that I did do, the EDCL2-T did get a little warm on me, but nothing I can't handle, nothing I can't hold on to, but you could definitely feel it that it's been on a little bit. Those 1200 lumens are pretty bright. Alright guys, so if you want to see how I'd carry it, which I already kind of tested out, it looks something like this. This is a regular Levi's pants, and as you guys can see, it fits all the way to the bottom, which is pretty nice. Or you carry a bezel up, which honestly is a lot more comfortable because since the diameter of the bezel is a little bigger, on the end being 1.125 inches as opposed to the body being about 1 inch, you know, you definitely feel that when you sit down or you're walking. When it's bezel up, you don't really feel it as much, and usually I'm not a bezel up carry kind of guy, but in this particular case I think it makes sense just because it's more comfortable to carry. Now if you want to compare it to the S1 mini Baton, this little thing, you don't even feel it, you literally forget you have it. But I can't really say the same for the Surefire. You definitely do feel it, but in my opinion, it might be worth the extra bulk because, you know, it does serve a purpose. It's tactical, it's very intuitive, and it's also very powerful with 1200 lumens. Another thing I wanted to mention is that the clip is definitely more secure in the bezel down position because of the nature of the clip. Obviously here, it feels pretty snug, not too much. I mean, it could definitely slide or move around a little bit, but not nearly as much when it's bezel up. The bezel up position is very soft and doesn't really give it a firm grip in your pants. It definitely slides around very easily, as opposed to being bezeled down. It's a little more stiff, and obviously that's because of the nature of the clip design. And you can see here, this bend here is pretty much where the ball cap will go. So here I have a ball cap, and you'll see this will just push in, and it'll go pretty much up to that point. It won't go too much further, or else you'll probably damage the clip. And it does work, and I've tested it out, but it does feel a little heavy. So I'm gonna show you guys how it look. So have it on, and probably easier if you put it on top, but you do feel that on your head. I can turn, and it's not falling off, but you know, that's not to say that it won't. If I simply just jiggle a little bit, it falls right down. So it's not the most sturdy clip around, And if I had to give a shortcoming to this light, I would say it's the clip. Maybe if I put it in a little deeper, it's more secure. So let me try putting it a little bit deeper. But then again, that's pretty much getting in the way of your head. You'd probably want it up, which can only go so far back and falls off. So Surefire is a great American company, and they have one of the best warranties and customer service reputations out on the market today. And that's one of the reasons I really didn't hesitate with this light. This light does come with a lifetime warranty, and I called them up and kind of told them the situation in the middle of this review. And I told them I wasn't really too happy with the clip. I loved everything else about the light, but the clip was definitely a shortcoming in my opinion. So they were very cool. And previously I had actually done some research in finding this light, and I really like the clip from the Tactician. I think that's definitely one of the pros for that particular light. And I asked him if they would be compatible. He said, yeah, no problem. And what they're going to do is they're going to send it out to me. So I think with that clip, this light is pretty much close to perfect. I don't know if it could get much better than that. And honestly, this light is really a bezel up carry light. I tried it both ways, and honestly, bezel up is a lot easier because of the diameter of this, as opposed to the bezel being 1.125 inches and this being about 1 inch. You definitely feel it. And if you're going to be sitting up and down throughout the day, you certainly want something to be comfortable, or else you're not really going to carry it, just like everything else in your everyday carry. So usually I'm a bezel down kind of guy, but for this light, it's a bezel up. And it's not a really big deal to get used to it, but it's certainly something you should consider. So all in all, Surefire did a really great job with their customer service, and that's why I really didn't hesitate with them. So it's about an hour before sunset, and I just wanted to show you guys with the light how it kind of compares in terms of color. Now obviously the 5 lumens you can't see very well. If I pan over this way, you may be able to see it a little bit, but obviously the 1200 lumens, you know, it's pretty darn bright, and the color is warm, but obviously not as warm as like sunset colors. Another thing I wanted to let you guys know, for a lot of people have concerns about the actual tail cap and whether or not, you know, they would actually press the 5 lumens when they needed the 1200. And I think it's the opposite. You might actually press the 1200 lumens when you need 5, but the reverse is very unlikely. So for tactical situations, you definitely err on the side of pushing 1200 lumens. You only need to push a very small amount in order to get the 5. Show you guys. And then the 1200 lumen, you know, just a little more. And you also have to think with the fight or flight response, you're gonna most likely just push hard, which makes sense for a tactical situation. And obviously guys, if you're not in a tactical situation, then there's no rush, and you could easily just turn until you get the 5 lumens, and that way you don't have a negligent discharge of 1200 lumens. So pretty simple, and I think the best design in terms of EDC and being tactical. So as you guys can tell, it's about sunset, and I think this is where this light really shines, at this beautiful local subway of mine. As you guys can tell, I live in the city, so you know that's why I wanted a 1200 lumen light, because I think that's where this light really shines. With 1200 lumens, you can kind of overpower the street lights and still blind an attacker if you needed to. So I'm about 20 feet away from this subway, and let's see how it looks. So 5 lumens nothing, but 1200 lumens I think lights it up pretty good. Off, on. And again, I mean, there's still dusk out right now, and there's obviously, you know, traffic lights and stuff haven't even turned on yet, but it still works. And see this, you know, about 10 feet away from bushes, you can see pretty well. So it definitely does its job. Okay, so these are pretty much like street light conditions, and I wanted to test out the light and see how it fares. I'm about 12 feet away from this wall. This is the Surefire EDCL2-T. Pretty blinding, I would say. Let's compare it to the Olight. Let's see how it does. 600 lumens. Pretty bright, but obviously not as concentrated. So that's the S1 Mini. And that's the Surefire. Pretty much blows it out of the water, especially since it's more concentrated. Obviously the S1 Mini is just more flooding light, and the Surefire is obviously more concentrated. Alright guys, so this local car wash was pretty much the darkest place I could find, and I'm about 30 feet away from the wall. This is with the 5 lumens, so you guys can get an idea. And you guys can see this is about 30 feet away from that door. and it's not a tight hotspot. It does pretty much disperse the light pretty evenly, which is pretty nice. And I'll give you guys the 1200 lumens. Really lights it up. Like if someone turned the lights on in here. The upward reflection is not very good because it's black and it's pretty tall, but obviously you can see very well and very clear. So this is the Olight S1 mini Baton on turbo mode at 600 lumens, about 30 feet away from that door, and it does light it up very well. But let's see how it compares to the Surefire. So hold that there. 5 lumens, not much, but 1200 lumens, you got a much hotter spot there. Let me see if you could separate them. It's really difficult to separate them because the Olight is such a floody light. Actually getting a little warm on me. But the Surefire does have much more throw, and that therefore you have a tighter spot and more candela in a particular area. And in doing this testing, the light is getting a little warm on me, but nothing terrible, nothing I can't bear. 5 lumens, 1200 lumens. So I find the 5 lumens to be pretty adequate. I could stay on it pretty easily. It's not very difficult to differentiate between the 5 and the 1200 lumens. If I do want to punch it, it's very easy, I can. And I see pretty much right through everything. Okay, so I would estimate that wall to be about 70, 60 yards away. Here's a 5 lumen light. It could touch it, definitely, but it doesn't do too much. Let's see how the 1200 lumen does. Really lights it up nicely. So 1200 lumens goes out quite a distance. So those trees getting hit. And again, guys, this is under city conditions. You know, I'm sure in the rural areas, it will look much more effective. So under these questionably lit lighting conditions, I think the 1200 lumen light by Surefire really shines. Let's see how it does. So it just cuts right through that like in and out type of lighting, and you can see pretty much clearly whatever you want to see. Okay guys, so this is 10 yards away from these cones, and I'm gonna go back in distance and show you guys how it looks. Okay, here are the cones at 25 yards away. Seeing pretty well, lighting up the trees pretty good. Here's 50 yards. Okay, this is 75 yards away from those cones. Still light up pretty easily. Okay guys, this is 100 yards away from those cones and still easily lit up, no problem. And you could also see the sign next to it lit up as well. Okay, so 125 yards away, you guys could easily see the cones still and the sign. There's someone on their bicycle there. You can see the reflectors pretty easily. Okay, this is 150 yards away from those cones and still lit up pretty well. You can see the bridge above it. Also lights up nicely. Okay, in a fairly dark room with nothing but exit lights, you can see here fairly dark. You do have some ambient light from outside, but aside from that, you can't see much. So I'm gonna test out 5 lumens. Definitely lights up the room a little bit, but not too much. Let me look down this hallway. So you could definitely see it. But at 1200 lumens, it basically turns the lights on in here. You can see everything very well. And you could probably even tell the quality of the camera got much better as well. You also have umbrella lighting if you want, if you don't want to point anything directly at the walls. Okay, so all in all, I'm very happy with this light. I think it certainly does what it's supposed to do, and it's certainly going to be incorporated into my EDC. I'm happy I chose this over the Tactician because for me and my purposes, I think this works much better, especially when you live in the city and you have a lot of lights everywhere. If you want to blind an attacker or use it for defensive purposes, you definitely want all the power you could get out of it. And this Surefire light is the best handheld light that you could use for that purpose. I really like the gas pedal switch in the back. At first I wasn't sure about it because I know a lot of tactical lights, don't have those, but it's very easy to control. And you can certainly get whatever you want. And if you are in one of those situations where you have that fight or flight response, you're just going to push down on it. You're not going to lightly tap it. So you're certainly going to get whatever you need out of it. So all in all, it's a great design. My only gripe with it was the clip, which I will be correcting fairly soon. I'll give you guys an update on that. But, you know, all in all, I'm very happy I chose it. Now, my other EDC light is, of course, the S1 Mini Baton, which you guys have seen already, and I did a full review on. Obviously, they serve different purposes, and if I put them side by side, you could see why. One is obviously more portable. This one also has a good water rating, which this one does not. And this one also has obviously different settings, and it has Moonlight, and this is more of a utility type of light, and this is actually a practical fighting type of light. So they serve different purposes. I'm glad I have both in my EDC. I don't want to complicate things. I'll probably just stick with these two for now. If you guys like this video, please like, share, subscribe, and also leave any comments below. Let me know what you guys think would be the best EDC light for you and what you choose. I'm very curious about this topic, and I did a lot of research into choosing this one, but you know, I could be wrong and there could be something else better out there. But for now, I would call this the best tactical light available on the market today. Thanks for watching again, guys. WRG out.